Central Standard Time. I'm trying to make sure this thing is up and running because this is all still terra incognita for me. Okay, so it is up and running. Good. Let me go ahead and mute that. Mute that. Because the last thing you'll need to hear is me talking to myself, and, well, that just makes things confusing. I'm going to talk to myself anyways. You don't need a third me talking to myself. So, anyways, today is the 1st of March, 2014. Yesterday, February 29th, since it's a leap year, this is February 29th, was the 80th birthday, if you will, the 80th anniversary of the commissioning of the USS Cavalla, a submarine built by Electric Boat Company up in Groton, Connecticut, in between the years 1943 and 1944. She was the skipper of the boat, Commander Kessler, and the crew decided that commissioning day should be on the leap year day, because they thought it would be a lucky, auspicious day for the boat, maybe portend good luck for the boat. Cavalla actually had a fantastic first patrol. Beautiful first patrol. As a result, I guess you could say the luck kicked in. This is pretty much the standard regarding submarines in World War II. Silent Victory by Clay Blair Jr. It's pretty dry reading. I'll forewarn you, if you try to read it from top to bottom, it's very dry reading, but it can be interesting reading nonetheless, especially with regards to torpedo tests, torpedo experiments, the different, the early days, the chaos, things like that. But Blair on page 252, on 652, records the Cavalla, what happened with the Cavalla during her first patrol. It says that a brand new Pearl Harbor submarine, Cavalla, with a new skipper, Herman Kussler, who had been exec to Bert Clackering for Guardfish's first 5 patrols, left midway on June 4 to relieve Risser at San Bernardino Strait. Risser was the skipper of, not the Seahorse, the Flying Fish. On the way to station June 9, Cavalla, underway on the surface, collided with a whale, which breached in a pool of blood. Oh, that's not a good start, you would think. Kussler was concerned about the collision might have bent one of his shafts or screw. However, no vibrations, no defects continued on their way. On June 15, after Lockwood received contact reports from Rissler and Cutter regarding the movement of a Japanese carrier division to counterattack American Marine landings at Guam and Saipan, Lockwood shifted Cavalla and Darrigan's Pipefish to advanced scout stations along probable track of the main body. This is critical because when the American fleets start to clash with the counterattacking Japanese, it results in what's known as the Battle of the Battle of the Philippine Sea, which the Americans called the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. The Japanese lost hundreds of planes to the Americans, like double-digit losses, because they just kept sending sortie after sortie after sortie, to the point that a lot of their pilots were just shot down. It pretty much rendered ineffective the Japanese Navy's Naval Air Arm Wing for pretty much the rest of the war. The Japanese had a habit of keeping their experienced pilots on the line, sending them into combat rather than rotating them back to teach new and upcoming pilots the techniques, the skills, the tactics of how to deal with enemy attacks and how to successfully do air combat. Basically what we do now with the Top Gun training over in California. So they pretty much had a lot of their air wing just devastated, just completely zapped to the point of no longer effectiveness because they just didn't have the quality or the experience remaining with their air crews. So Kessler and the Cavalla steamed towards the San Bernardino Strait, which is, if I remember correctly, that's the south side of the that's towards the south side of the island of Leyte, and took station there with several other submarines. Four to be exact: Albacore, Bang, Fingback, and Stingray. Scouting the Marianas, a scouting line west of the Marianas, and they shifted to intercept this attack force. At about 8 in the morning, let's see. So about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, Herman Kostler and the Cavalla have been chasing a Japanese group or another for about 60 hours, raised his periscope. Quote, "The picture was too good to be true," he later wrote. There was the heavy carrier Shokaku, veteran of Pearl Harbor. She was part of Pearl Harbor's. She was part of the Japanese 5th Carrier Division with her sister ship Zuikaku, and they had participated in the 6th Carrier Strike Force that had attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7th. Veteran of Pearl Harbor, the Battle of Coral Sea, many other engagements, with a quote bed spring radar antenna on her foremast and a large Japanese ensign. That is the flag. The carrier was launching and recovering aircraft. Kostler closed and fired 6 torpedoes, range 1,200 yards. So he got within 3/4 of a mile of her. Then he went deep. He heard 3 solid hits and figured the other 3 missed. 8th depth charges fell near Cavalla. During the next 3 hours, over 100 more were dropped, 56 of them, quote, fairly close, end quote. Kostler went deep and evaded. In fact, 4 of Kostler's torpedoes hit Shokaku, setting off unmanageable internal explosions and flames. Shokaku fell out of formation, her bow settled. Water flooded into the hangar space through an elevator. That is like one of the big aircraft elevators on the side, or actually the Japanese had them in the middle. Shortly after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, she turned over and plunged beneath the waves. Cavalla, on her first patrol, had sunk a Japanese aircraft carrier, quite a auspicious start to a submarine her career, which would continue through the rest of the war, even to the point. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Yeah, here we go. Let me share this. Even to the point that Cavalla was present in Tokyo Bay on September 2nd, 1945, when the Japanese signed the official instrument of surrender, bringing the war to a close. She was part of, as you can see in this picture, she was part of Submarine or Submarine Squadron 20. Captain Lewis Parks commanding. And Cavalla is here, the second boat from the left, alongside her sisters, nested on either side of the submarine tender Proteus. The commander at the end of the war was still Herman Kostler. and she would go on. She'd be temporarily decommissioned, then or put in reserve actually. Then she would be recommissioned and turned into what they called a hunter killer. It was basically the job of the hunter killer class was like modern attack boats, nuclear attack boats. Their job was to go find and track with the aim to eventually, if needed, attack and kill enemy submarines, particularly enemy ballistic missile submarines. So she became a Cold War veteran as well. There's a good picture here of the skipper, Herman Kostler, who he clearly... This is... When is this picture taken? 1960. So, older gentleman, older officer, probably by this point, I think it said Commander Amphibious Squadron 10, so he was captain. Here we go. This is Mrs. Merrill Comstock. As was tradition, Vice Admiral Lockwood greets Commanding Officer Tenosa. So, Cavalla was launched. This is okay. So this is Admiral Charles Lockwood, who became Commander Submarines Pacific. Extremely famous. Went on to write several books about the war and the submarine war in the Pacific. But this is what Cavalla would have looked like during the war. She's got what looks like a wet mount 5-inch 25 forward. That looks like a possibly a Bofors 40, maybe single mount aft. You can see the radar whip. I'm sorry, the radio whip antenna, periscope shears. But what they did to her when they made her a hunter killer, I hate to say it, they took what looked like a beautiful sub, a weapon, almost knife-like, and kind of made it a little ugly. But she had advanced sonar systems in her bow. And she now resides in Galveston, Texas, on permanent display at Seawolf Park. She's land berthed, if you will, alongside the USS Stewart, the only surviving, I believe, Edsel class, maybe? I'd have to double check that. Yeah, only surviving Edsel class destroyer, escort from the war. Hurricane Ike wasn't very kind. What? That shouldn't be that tiny. There we go. Let's get a... What? Oh, why is it turning it tiny? But anyways, this is post-Hurricane Ike in 2008. Very devastating to the island. It was terrible. As you can see, the waters, the hurricane storm surge, which had flooded over the island in places. This is on Pelican Island, which is just north of the Harbor Channel. To give you a reference. So Pelican Island is here. Seawolf Park is here. This is the east end of the island. So anyways, the sub and her berthmate, Stewart, were both lifted out by the storm waters. Quite considerably, actually. You can see here, Stewart was actually probably sitting at about a good 5 or 7 degree list, maybe a little more. Cavalla was, that might actually be closer to 10. Cavalla was at about somewhere near 5. The sail, I'm trying to remember, that's the sail of one of the nuclear subs. I can't remember which one was knocked over. But anyways, I like knowing all the details. Sail of the Sturgeon class submarine, a nuclear attack submarine, Tautog. So anyways, yeah, it was quite the mess on the island in 2008 after the storm, early 2009. It took a while for them to get the the mud, the earth, and everything out from underneath them, the boat and destroyer here, and get them set up and refitted and reset into their berths. But so tomorrow, I intend to be down at Seawolf Park for the 80th birthday party, is what they're calling it for the girl, for Cavalla. It's been a while since I stepped foot on Cavalla. I think the last time I stepped foot on Cavalla was 2009, 2010. At that time, I had the pleasure of being escorted by a friend of mine who had introduced me to her friend. It was during the Greek festival here on the island, and her friend had served in diesel boats. He's an old DBFer in the Cold War, and got some really interesting stories out of that were quite interesting. It was nice to have someone who was familiar with the interior of these boats and how life was like, going through all the details of living on the boat, operated the boat. He told a humorous story about when the skipper asked if he wanted to, when they were moving his bunk to after torpedo, the skipper asked him, and was like, you have any problems? The reason I'm going to move you back there, we're going to move you back there, but I want to ask you if you have a problem sleeping back there, because they kept a nuclear-tipped nuclear warheaded torpedo in the after tubes. This was a Cold War. The idea was you had these subs, they would shadow Soviet naval fleets. The idea of targeting the carriers, which were kept in the center of the fleet, and if you could hit the carrier with a nuclear-tipped torpedo, you take out the whole fleet. Well, of course, you're going to lose the boat too. And because to get those targets, you're going to have to get that target. You're going to have to get in awful close. Anyways, they asked the skipper asked him, said, "Do you have a problem sleeping next to this thing?" And the guy was like, "No, I don't have a problem sleeping next to it. If it goes off, it doesn't matter if I'm at one end of the boat or the other. We're all going up at once." So I thought that was a great. I mean, that's submariners for you. Submariners, sometimes they just don't care because they're realistic about it. I mean, you go under the water, you got to be realistic about things. So it's very interesting. So now let's shift over here. Let's get started. We're going to start a whole new patrol today for S&Gs. Smirks and giggles, I guess you could say. One of the things about starting a career is you can keep it going as long as you want, but I think for this, I'm going to set the rules on this one. This will be strict. This particular career will be strictly for streaming. I will not play it when I'm not streaming. All the management and everything, crew, etc., will be done here. Patrol will be carried out online on streaming. But it was not uncommon after 5 patrols to pull a skipper because of fatigue. Fatigue can lead to miscalculation. It could also lead to recklessness. I think it was Admiral Lockwood who believed that fatigue led to the recklessness with Slade Cutter. Not Slade Cutter. Can't remember which skipper it was, but led to fatigue. Fatigue led to the skipper's recklessness. It wasn't Cutter. I'll say that. It wasn't Cutter. Cutter had been on my mind earlier. And the recklessness caused him to make a gross miscalculation. Because I think, if I remember correctly, he got pushed into a 6th patrol, which was very unheard of. Let's see, Sam Dealey. Yeah, it was Sam Dealey. Dealey If I remember correctly, he wasn't. He was working out of, I think, Fremantle at the time, so he was outside of Lockwood's command. But Lockwood was quite familiar with Dealey. Dealey was a very he'd been nominated. He'd received a Navy Cross for his 5th patrol, and or 4th patrol, excuse me, which was later upgraded to a Medal of Honor. So, anyhow, back to what we're doing. So we'll pick a career. It's going to randomly assign a boat. Let's just pick a name here. Beard is a good, honest, solid last name. We'll go with that. So we can start in 1942, 43, 44, 41, whatever. That is not a toy, Fenn. Thank you very much. That is not a toy. I have my executive officers lying right here, as you can see. Hold on. That's my executive officer being problematic. No, he's eating me. The executive officer is biting me. No. Goober cat. I've decided we're going to start patrol in 1943. That's going to give us mid-war. We can start with a decent boat. We'll start with a Gatto class. I usually run normal. I like having a little bit of renown. Renown is basically points you can spend to get weapons, systems upgrades, crew upgrades, things like that. The Gatto class boat was actually the new and upcoming fleet sub, as compared to some of these other ones like Gar, Tambor, Porpoise. These are actually subclasses. Porpoise was P class. Tambor was probably a subclass. I think it's considered a subclass of they called them at one point the Fleet S versions. I think Gar was a subclass of that as well. So, all right, here we go. Been approved for command of the USS Scorpion. Named for the scorpion fish. So we're going to be at Pearl Harbor. Oh yeah. We could have picked another place to start, which would have been a 43. Could have been Fremantle or Brisbane. But let's start with Pearl. It's kind of familiar.
During the past months, we've made good progress in the Solomons, despite the desperate Japanese resistance and attempts of repelling our forces. Until August, different attempts were made by the Japanese to bring reinforcements to New Georgia, and several small naval battles were fought in Kula Gulf and in Vella Gulf, with the U.S. Navy managing to push them back. With us controlling the sea, the Japanese had to stop sending reinforcements to New Georgia, which made our advance easier. So by the end of August, fighting on the island was over. During September, the advance of the Allied troops through Colombagara and Vella Lavala Islands, intending to push the enemy to the north, was progressing quite steadily. By the end of the month, the Japanese started evacuating both islands. In the beginning of October, the Solomon Islands were completely under our control.
So yeah, by March 43, if I remember correctly, I think the Solomon campaign ended January, February of 42. I'm sorry, 43. Fighting is still continuing down in the Solomons and in the New Guinea area. Japanese control is still pretty close to its peak, except and they, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're March. They might have still controlled Attu and Kiska at that time. The only American soil occupied by the Japanese in World War II, Attu Island and Kiska Island in the in Alaska, in the north there. So okay, so gameplay settings. I like to try to play tough, Manual targeting system, limited compressed air, limited O2, limited fuel, realistic repair time, no map contact update, realistic reload, no stabilize. I keep external view on just to track torpedoes. I think this time we're going to go with no external view. It's going to kind of make it a little dull for y'all. Might make it a little dull for y'all. I don't know. I take that back. I don't think it's going to make it dull. It means we're going to have to use our heads here a lot more to visualize. So we got 100% realism setting. Apply the changes. Let's see. Okay, back. Let's see. Let's look at the boat in our system. So we've got SJ radar, improved SD radar. They want to give us a 350 to start with. 3-inch 50 cal. Kind of a weak sauce gun, but we're not going to be engaging in a whole lot of gun battles, except with smaller. If we do, it'd be smaller vessels like fishing boats, trawlers, and stuff like that. I prefer bow-mounted 450, 4-inch 50, and we're going to do a twin 20 millimeter or 1.1 inch anti-aircraft guns. It looks like the only stocks available for torpedoes are Mark 10, which were pre-war World War II, but they were very reliable, slow, traveled at 36 knots. Steam propulsion, so they left that white bubble wake behind them. Made tracking them possible by enemy surface vessels. They could basically just use that thing to track it back to you. And then the Mark 14, historically a pain in the butt torpedo. Problems were noticed early on with it regarding possibly running deep, too deep. Set it for 10 feet, you'd have it run 21 feet. It was consistently running 11 to 12 feet below set depth. Plus, it also had what was known as the Mark 6 exploder, the magnetic exploder. Magnetic exploder was a good idea. The Germans had tinkered with it, but they were finding that it was an inconsistently performing. You could put it right under a ship, enemy target, wouldn't go off. It could also prematurely detonate because of a magnetic influence somewhere between sub and target. U.S. Had developed their own version of the magnetic exploder, and for the better part of a year to year and a half after the war began, particularly the BUORD, the Bureau of Ordnance, basically was like, no, this thing's it's supposed to work the way it did. It tested trials, Turns out the trials were actually not really very thoroughly testing it. They found that the magnetic resonance in the area which the torpedo was built, or the exploder was built as well as tested, was really only where it was reliable. So basically, because of the fluctuating magnetic nature of the Earth, because of its internal roiling of the molten iron core, it wasn't reliable, and it took Admiral Charlie Lockwood to eventually start testing it in June of '42 when he was in command down at Fremantle, ComSub SOWEST PAC, Commander Submarines Southwest Pacific, to basically start making people see what was going on. And by '43 they were replacing the Mark 14s with the Mark 23s, which basically was an improved contact exploder because they'd had troubles with that, multiple duds. Basically, it was not it had a pistol mechanism that basically stuck out of like you have a little pistol primer that pushed into an exploded mechanism. They were finding that this pistol primer was bending weird. It wasn't making contact with the exploder like it was supposed to and detonating. Okay, so we're taking a load of Mark 14s. Okay, here comes crew. Alright, let's see what we got. Here's our old 4450. Here's our Cobb. 4450. 4450. I pretty much can... These are all... Okay, so these guys don't have any... I can pretty much just set the Cobb, whoever I want. I'm going to drop him up here. Because... that's going to help the forward torpedo. Where are you going to go? This could take a while. I'm going to try to speed this process up. Mechanical, electrical, mechanical, good. Let's put him aft. Torpedo. Alright, we'll just go with that. I don't really want to... I want to get this show on the road. I do want... get somebody with some gun experience here. Guns and mechanical. I think I could actually be on torpedoes. Let's grab him. Put him on the deck gun. That's a good for torpedoes. He should be good on guns too, so we'll put him there and rotate him around as needed. How many officers I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, that's a full load of officers. So how many chiefs do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can grab another chief. Well, let's grab another chief. It's a good thing that y'all can't see the screen. He's rubbing his face on it, and it's kind of fins just making it wobble there. You know, it doesn't change for y'all, so that's good. Okay, so electrical mechanical guns. I'm gonna pull him. Grab a couple of... Oop, I'm going to be running out of renown here very shortly. And let's grab some sailors. Mechanical, electrical, he's okay. Oh, not much there. Mechanical, leadership, guns, terrible. He might be doable. Okay, he's serviceable. Mechanical, but electrical's good. I kind of want people who have a decent... Oh, here we go. Grab him. I want people with decent numbers in at least 2 of these categories: leadership, electrical, mechanical guns. These are really important for the damage control. I can't see you through your fat head, cat. I discount watch because that has to go more to watch standing and deck watch. If I'm not going to put them in watch, I'm not going to worry about it too much. Although in reality, a subcrew would be divided into 3 sections, just like you see here, and they'd all have to stand a watch. Damage control team was not a separate team; it was actually integrated. Damage control was picked by the captain, by the skipper, as well as in case of emergencies, anybody else they needed to grab who had the capabilities that they wanted to handle emergent crises or casualties that arose. When we say casualties in the Navy, they're talking about breakdowns, engines, breakdowns, electrical breakdowns, torpedo tubes, or you name it. Oh, grab him. Alright, he's good. Alright, so there we go. Crewed up. Where are we going? Empire Waters. Bungo Strait. Oh, wow. I just... I finished reading Edward Beach's Run Silent, Run Deep a couple weeks ago. Very good book. I recommend it. It's a well-told tale. It's realistic in many respects. It's but a lot of the action took place.
I'll stop.
Here we go. In
Yes, sir.
that area of the Empire Waters. This is, yeah, they're sending me straight to the Bungo. This is Bungo Suido. the Bungo Channel. So it looks like I will be patrolling the Bungo Suido. Mark this because I need to get within 50 nautical miles. If you're interested, a nautical mile is 1.15 statute miles. So a 1.15 regular miles as we know it is a nautical mile. Put that there. Get my chronometer down here. Turn it down, close it down, open this up. Alright, let's set course. Next stop. No, the next stop's going to be Midway, because I need to stop there, top off fuel, and before heading to the patrol zone. Battle of Midway made sure that this area was. Go ahead and put it at standard speed. Yes. Battle of Midway ensured that we kept control of this island, which is actually a major jumping off point for any boats going from Pearl. There's two locations that they could go to, Midway, or if they were going towards, say, the Carolines, what we called back then the Japanese Mandate Islands, because the Japanese actually got control of these islands. That's probably friendly. I'm just going to turn the radar off for the moment. I mean, technically speaking, you could run into enemy submarines out here during the war. Had happened. But I've never had that happen. Hopefully I won't have it happen. It'd be quite a surprise if it did, but I've never seen it happen here. But anyways, the Japanese, the Marshalls, the Carolines, these and the Gilberts, all of these were given to Japan after the end of the First World War because they had joined the Allies, joined the Entente, and were received these as part of the reparations that were handed out, even though Japan really didn't do much. But they got control of these islands as a result, and they were called by the U.S. Navy at that time the Japanese Mandates, the Mandate Islands. So if you wanted to go to the Mandate Islands, you'd go through Johnson Atoll. And that was quite often you were going to be transferring down to Brisbane or maybe Fremantle, Perth. This is Exmouth Gulf, also known as Potshot. His code name was Potshot. Let's get that up to 1,000. Let's get up to 2,000. We'll get some speed underway on it. It takes a little while to get out there. It's about game time. It's about a 10 to 12 day cruise to get to Empire Waters. Right now, it looks like we've got ourselves about a 4,000 mile trip. 4,000 nautical mile trip. Alright, we have a contact. It's probably going to be a friendly, but let's check anyway. Emergent medium speed closing, bearing 049, long range. Let's get the radar on. Radar has two sets. This is what is known as the SJ set. It's the most recognizable form of radar that we modern folks know. Radar was still in its infancy during World War II, but the sweeping radar in submarines is the SJ set. How far is this little boy out? And this was what's known as the PPI. I don't remember right off the bat what PPI is short for. Point position indicator. This actually is the PPI, point position indicator. This is the SD, or not SD. This is The whole set's at SJ. This is SD was aerial radar. It was non. It was not. It was not a sweeping radar. It basically just picked up anything in the air with a certain range. These old boys are about 15,000 yards out on a bearing of. Well, this is saying 5-1, so that comports. We've got 2 contacts out there between 5-0 and 6-0. Looks like they're nose to tailing. I'm going to cut that waypoint because it's not needed. Alright, let's... Current course is about 285. 5 is 33 something, so we go 335. Yes, that's 50 degrees.
3. Yes, sir.
So, let's see. Let's get my log running here. March 18th. Radar SJ 050 to 060, 2 contacts, 15,000 yards. And then at 1855 we're turning. So basically I keep track of all this so I know exactly what's going on. It's just had become a habit. They would actually keep a log of this information as well on a boat. 2, 3, 3, 4. True. That'd be 3, 3, 4. True. So when we talk about relative bearings, think of the submarine as a compass needle. The bow of the submarine is always north or 0. The stern of the submarine is always south or 180. Relative bearing is where is the target in relation to or relative to your position. 90 relative bearing would be to your starboard beam. 270 would be to your port beam. So basically 45, 325, 325, I'm sorry, 315, so on and so forth. Flyers tend to use a clock, use a clock pattern, 12, 1, 2, 3. Some ships use, Navy uses relative bearing. That's to differentiate it from true bearing, which means my current course is now is on the true bearing of 334. So I'm heading north northwest. Let's see if we can see anything. 15,000 yards, I seriously doubted it, but it's worth a look. Where are they at now in relation to us? Okay, here we go. About 2.9, 2.5. There's two sets of screws. It's labeling them as merchantmen, so these could be allied friendly merchants. Let's go back up top here. Whew. These are rock and rolling. There we go. We got two ships. What do we got? Oh, those are victory ships, all right. Yeah, those are very identifiable victory ships. Only Americans use the victory ship. Just to give you an idea. Go to the identification manual. Has pertinent information regarding different ship classes. Liberty Cargo. This is strictly an American class, although it could have been... this is just under merchants. Liberty Cargo were basically quickly built ships, the fastest of which I think was built in like some 90 days during World War II in the various naval construction yards on the east and west coast. Japanese would not have had but the Japanese would not have had these ships to use. Go to full speed.
Ahead full.
Go back to the map. Contacts verified says 1904. There is a surviving Victory cargo ship that is a museum ship in San Francisco, California. It's the USS Jeremiah O'Brien. It's on my to-do list. It's on my to-go visit list of maritime museum ships. But she's the only surviving example. If I'm not mistaken, I think her engines are still functional. So she's been used in some movies. The interiors have been used for movies and whatnot, war movies in time period. But she is currently you can visit the O'Brien, along with her berth mate over there is the USS Pompano, a Gatto class submarine. Made a name for herself. Close to midways, and we'll cut the radar. Postpone the refit just to give you a view of what we're going into. Let's go to the binoculars instead. Now, these are all look like maybe destroyer escorts, American ships. Those are to our immediate left, or to the left of our track, I should say. They're going to be over here on the southeast side of the lagoon.
Ship spotted. Bearing 1. Long range.
I still like to, even when coming into a friendly base like this, I like to keep an eye off from on the bridge here, the bridge view. I don't want to hit anything.
Ship spotted.
Hitting something like that would make my day. Would not make my day. As you can see, we're actually going to be passing really close to one right there. There's one right there dead ahead, and there's that one just a few degrees off our... That's a 4-stacker Clemson. A few degrees off of our... a few degrees right of our track, so I may have to adjust course here in a minute. Actually, that Clemson might be... Yeah, that
Ship spotted. Bearing 3.
that's on 4-stackers on patrol.
Long range.
He's doing a slow, sweet patrol.
Ship spotted. Bearing.
And that's the main island right there with the facilities. This would be the southeastern island with its facilities. So anyways, here we are midway.
Ship spotted. Bearing 335. Long range.
I don't see anything ahead of us. Now that's a yeah, that right there. Let me sweep around to that. That is an American Victory cargo ship. That's what we just saw. That was what we just were like, oh, well, they're not targets, they're friendly. No need to be a traitor. I've never done that in this game. Little trawlers. That's another, that looks like a destroyer escort, maybe. There you go. Got a battleship over there. Or no, you know. Yeah, that could be a battleship. It might be a battleship. Hard to tell. Take it back. That's a cruiser. Look at the gun formation. Look at the mount formation. That is, yeah, the mount construction here. That's a cruiser. Probably a Brooklyn class, maybe. Baltimore. Not a slanted stack, so... Yep, Brooklyn Light. That's a Brooklyn Light cruiser over there. Anyways. That's enough sightseeing. I don't believe we have any ships that are headed. So we can go back below and conduct refit. Which means we've got a fuel tank, we've got a full tank of fuel. And now since we're actually heading out, we need to drop speed. We've got to manage our fuel more carefully. "10 to 12 knots was about standard speed for running out and running back from patrol zones. You needed to manage the fuel because you got to have enough to get back. Standard rule of thumb was about 15 days to station, 30 on station, 15 days back. Contact, but a friendly ship. So right now, $282.2 hours at present speed. 11 days. If I remember correctly, I think Ned Beach had it. It's about 11 to 12 days to get from Midway to the Bungo Suido. With day 9 passing through the Bonins, the Bonines, the Nampo Shoto. And this is really where the game gets a little slow at times. Kind of want to speed it up and get it to get on station. Up, we're starting to see contacts come out for the for the Marianas. I'm sorry. If it's diamond shape, it's a task force. If it's square shape, yeah. This is a heavily trafficked area back and forth. 43 Guam Saipan. Yeah, it's going to become a busy area. Big task force. But yeah, if it's a diamond shape, it's a task force. If it's square shape, it's going to be a convoy or a ship report. There's that as a task force. But these contacts are too far out for us to really worry about. An American task force heading down into the Marshalls.
Ship spotted.
Whoa!
Bearing 2, 5, 4, 6. Long range.
Radar contact 258. Nothing visual. We got something out here. How far? Got the radar. Make a sweep. Nothing on PPI. Point position indicator. There's nothing on the A scope. Actually, they got these backwards. This is the A scope. This is the PPI. I'm not seeing anything. I don't know what radar picked up. Sometimes you get goofs like that that are leftovers from when you were in an area that had a lot of ships. But I'm not seeing anything. Alright.
Yes, sir. Current speed 10.
Continue course.
Single contact. Bearing.
047 long range. Now that is probably not a ship. 25847. We got potential air cover. Where are we? Yeah, Wake Island. How far away is Wake? About 700 miles. That's well within patrol, like flying boat patrol range. So this could be flying boats. I want to stay on the surface as long as I can in order to get there a little quicker, but just not seeing. Oh, there we go. Crash dive. Take her down 150. All ahead flank. Get her down. More than likely we've been sighted, which is not what we want, but take one last look. Yeah, it's a Japanese flying boat, all right. Okay, well, best they'll get on this is a course, possibly a speed. Alright, we're down at 150. Alright, let's slow for 2 knots. I may have to go under for the day. What time is it? 19:20. 7 in the evening, so the surface is dark. Batteries recharged, that's good. So far we've burned 10% of our fuel just getting from here to here. It's not bad fuel consumption at all. But we want to have enough fuel in case we need to make high-speed runs in the patrol zone to move from one place to another to get an end round, to get to run an end around on a convoy or task force. We get ahead of the target and actually get the job done. APAC news received. It's basically Kiska. Oh, so they just left Kiska. March 26, 43. 5 days to go. That'll be an air contact again, bearing force 6. Including pretty close to the Nimpo Shoto. It does raise the possibility that we're going to run into more air cover. Especially with all these task forces going south and north from Guam, Saipan, through the Bonines. Anticipating a lot of possibilities, especially if these task forces have aircraft carriers. We're going to be seriously in world of hurt. This 1237, I'm just going to take her down for the day.
Surface the boat. Yes, sir.
2 knots.
Current speed, 2. Yes, sir. Current speed, 4. Current speed, 2.
And then I'm going to let her run under for the day.
Single contact. Bearing 193. Long range.
I thought we were under. Almost
Yes, sir.
hit S. I will do that. I'll hit the wrong button from time to time. It happens. I had 2 or 3 things going on in my brain. Surface the boat. Let's run 10. Faster time dilation. Basically, with every click that I make to increase the time, it cuts the time basically from 1 to 1 to 1 to 2. Basically, cuts it 1 minute is 1 minute to 1 minute ratio is 1. 1 to 2 becomes 1 to 30 seconds, and so on and so on. Basically, you're cutting it in half. Radio report received enemy small convoy 142.21 east 29.43. Oh, Moving fast, too. Okay, so
Current depth.
slow this down to 1 to real time. We've got ourselves our first potential customers here. Fast. Convoys moving fast could be 12 knots, 10 knots, something like that. This says course of north-northwest, so that's going to be... 343. All right, so tentative course on this thing is 343, moving fast. I'm in a pretty decent position to potentially get ahead of this. My current distance to it is approximately 16.3 nautical miles. So I need to start running the numbers here. 12:15. This is March 31. So right now I'm running 272, give or take. $275. Minus 223. Bearing 52 relative. 16.3. Okay, so I've basically roughed out on this piece of graph paper the tactical situation at the moment. I've calculated the angles of the triangle because that's going to be necessary to determining these distances. We know that the distance from my ship to their to the target report and contact report is 16.3 nautical miles. Knowing that, we can use what's called the law of sines, and this is where the math comes in. Basically, sine of the angle A over the length of angle of leg A over sine B over leg B, so on, through sine C over leg C. So, let me sine A equals sine B, leg B equals sine C over. So this is the law of sines. That in mind, we're going to call 16.3 leg A, which means sine 55, the opposing angle opposite leg A, over 16.3 nautical miles equals, we're going to call target travel from target contact to intercept point is going to be leg B. That's going to be sine of 52. When we start doing the math, 52 sine times 16.3 equals divided by 55 sine 15.6 nautical miles. So we're going to have pretty close to, we've got a pretty close to an isosceles triangle situation here, which is actually really good. Makes the number crunching a little simpler. Sine 55, 16 over 16.3 nautical miles equals sine C over, which would actually be in this case, leg C over 73. Sine 73. Sine 73 over leg C. So 55 sine. No, 73 sine times 16.3 divided by 73 sine 16.3 nautical miles. So, like I said, it's almost an isosceles scenario. If my math is correct, I have no reason to doubt that, given the fact that we are looking at a 55 and a 52 with a 73. So 55 and 55 would give me a 70, I think, yes. Alright, so if this contact is running, let's say 12 knots, they're going to make that distance in a little over an hour. So their travel time at 12 knots is going to be 1 hour and 20 minutes. I can easily cover that distance. It'd be better if I got ahead of there quicker than them. Allow me to set up, maintain target speed, and, you know, all that. So I'm probably 16.3. That's, if we want to make it into yards, it's 30,000 yards. Let's get to within 4,000 yards. We can run 14.3. Can't run it in 30 minutes, but I can run it in 20. I can't run it in 30 minutes, or I can't run it at 28 knots, which would give me 30 minutes, but I can run it at 20 knots, which would put me there 42 minutes, 54 seconds. Alright, so
Yes, sir. Ahead flight.
now we're on the clock. It is currently 12:27. Contact was made at 12:15. I spent 12 minutes running my calculations. I don't have an approach team. Approach team would consist of the skipper, the executive officer, the navigator, the assistant navigator. Generally those four, plus any more you want to put on there. They're basically each had a specific job. The skipper's job was to make the final decision based on all the information. The assistant approach officer, or the executive officer in this, which was usually the case, would handle what was known as the is-was. I used to have a homemade one that was actually kind of nice. The is-was is also known, let me find it here. Patrol reports, manual illustration, navigation and attack. The is-was is better known as the submarine, the submarine attack course finder Mark 1 Mod 3. It was a circular slide rule consisting of 4 plates that you use to determine the enemy's, the target course. I'm gonna bump that to 4. Let me see if I can get this up to show y'all real quick. So this is the manual for the IS-WAS. You can see that it was constructed of multiple layers of plates. It had your periscope view, so you could turn that to show your periscope view. It showed the forward end of the boat. This was the back end of the boat. This central wheel was for enemy target course. So you would set the enemy target course. You could set where your periscope was viewing it from, and you could use these. This was actually a clear grid. Yeah, here we go. This is a really good picture of the, oh, come on. I just want the picture. Maybe it's down at the bottom. This is the same menu. Yeah, this is a really good picture of it. It was made of clear, I forget the type of plastic it was made of, but you use this to determine what the best and shortest approach course was. You want to try to get to about a 90-degree target angle. In other words, you want, when your torpedoes are firing, to be 90 degrees off the side of the enemy vessel. And that was what the purpose of this was. It was designed to help you with that. It also had on the back a second circular slide rule that used bearing and distance over a period of time to help you calculate target speed. Very critical in needing those two pieces of information. You need course, you need target speed, or else you're not going to be able to you're not even going to be able to begin your torpedo attack calculations. So I used to have a homemade one of those because you can print some of the. I found a place that had a nice print off version of it. I'm gonna have to make a new one. I lost my old one. Not sure where. Kind of hacks me off because it took me a little while to build that. But right now we know at 12:15 we had the radar contact. Get our radar on. Or sorry, we had the radio. We had the radio report. We got a radar contact now bearing 30, roughly about 305 between those two of them. So let's take
Single contact. Bearing 310. Long range.
get it down to within 20,000 yards. Okay, what do we got?
Single contact. Bearing 318. Long range.
Right about 20,000. Yeah. Push this out a little bit further. See if they're about between 20 and 20,000, maybe 24,000. No idea how many there are right now. The A-scope is got them all bunched up, but there's at least 2 peaks here. So we know there's at least 2 contacts. We don't know if they have radar detecting equipment, so let's kill that. Japanese eventually did develop a radar detecting mechanism to allow them to determine when they were being surveilled by radar in an attempt to help them find enemy submarines. More often than not, these were on destroyers. They put these on their destroyers or their Kaibokens, which were actually older escort type destroyers. But yeah. Bearing. I'm going to mark this as around 305 relative. It's until 275. 220 true. No, there's at least 2, possibly 3, I would say. Alright, so we've got... Alright, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to set up our torpedoes. Mark 14s had high speed and low speed contact and contact influence. March of 43, they're ditching contact influence, which was the magnetic exploder, in favor of contact. They were still having problems with the contact pistols, so I'll have to pull out a little. So we've got a total of 10 torpedoes at our disposal at the moment in the tubes. 6 forward, 4 aft. We have a total complement of 24 torpedoes. So we've got 10 more in reserve in the forward, 4 more reserve in the aft. I'm not calling battle stations yet because we're still far enough away. I'm more of an approach phase on this one. Alright. 44. So we need to... We'll put it back about here. 220 true. Yeah, this is comporting pretty closely. At 20,000, that's going to be about 10 nautical miles. It's a rough estimate of about 2,000 nautical miles for every 2,000 yards for every nautical mile. It's technically 20,000. It's technically 2,024, but with a rough of 2,000 for every nautical mile is easier to work with. So that does comport pretty well. We're maintaining that contact. At 10 nautical miles, we shouldn't be able to see. Oh, sea conditions are deteriorating, which is not good. This is probably a... These are both at 5 easily.
Contact! Merchant! Constant distance. Bearing 309. Long range. Contact! Merchant! Constant distance. Bearing 307. Long range.
Okay. This is daytime, so we're going to have to make a submerged attack, or what they call the white light attack. They called it a white light attack because you were using white lights in the conning tower and in the rest of the boat rather than going with the reds at night. Nighttime attacks were becoming more frequent by 1943. Matter of fact, by 1942, they were starting to use it a little bit more successfully, in particularly the sub-pack area, the submarine specific. Just for reference, when we're talking about submarine specific, we're talking about any subs based out of Pearl Harbor that worked north of about 1820 parallel, about the 18 to 20 parallel, and worked this area. And they covered here to here. Subs southwest pack or subs so west, based out of Fremantle and Brisbane, worked the Philippines, New Guinea, the Solomons, Dutch East Indies, also known, we now know as the Indonesia, but they were known as Dutch East Indies, and Southeast Asia. That was their job. So basically, since we're subs pack, but yeah, subs pack was using the nighttime attacks a little more. They were for more aggressive. The Germans had demonstrated the effectiveness of nighttime attacks on convoys in the Battle of the Atlantic, particularly 40 and 41. U.S. boats were adopting that slowly but surely. Drop that to there for the moment. 5 more game minutes. We want to try to keep a decent... We want to keep touchstone on, use this ranging as a touchstone, so we have it over and over and we have a good course track. We're getting actually really close about the point.
Contact. Warship. Closing.
Alright, we do have an escort.
Long range.
Nope, no, that might be... Yeah, okay, so last time, 1250, we had a... Yeah, so 1250, we had an escort call. Probably destroyers in there, which means we're gonna have to sneak in. This is where it gets good. See anything on the horizon? Bad weather is what it is. Alright, let's get our radar check real quick. So since they've got a destroyer, I want to be a little more careful with this radar. Ooh, it's a whole straight line. Looks like 3 ships in the middle, 1 tail, 1 forward. Or 1 forward, yeah. And they are at about 13,000 yards. Turn it off. I did not get the range on that. I feel like a moron. Get the bearing on that one. Well, looks like the lead ship's around 315. Okay, so turn that off now. The lead ship is at 315 relative. .230 true. Puts it at 230 true. About 13,000, so 6.5. Not accurate, but it does keep it pretty close to the track. We're going to need more data to make sure we get this right. Five contacts PPI, DD, 3 unknown AKs or AOs, that is unknown cargo or oil, cargo vessels or oilers, depending on, we don't know what they are at this point, and then at least probably 1 DD. So we know what we're looking at. Okay, so we're at the point where we can start slowing down. So I'm going to drop her to 10 knots.
Current speed. Yes, sir. 0.
Take another radar check. Got him inside the 10-mile marker now. Or 10,000 yard marker now. It's worth noting that if this thing sweeps over and doesn't get them, it could be due to sea conditions. Plus, the radar in 42 and 43 was not... It improved, but it wasn't at its best at this point. You might could get lucky if you could catch something in the 8 to 10,000 range. At least that's based on my reading. I'll qualify that with everything I say. It's based on my reading on what I've read. Let's kill that there at 8,000 yards. Roughly. Still run that. Let's see. Get that bearing again. I want to double check that. There's the lead. Roughly 315,320. Okay. Yeah, that's starting to comport. Yep. It's a pretty decent little track. How far am I off their track at this point? 6,000 yards. We should be starting to see them by now. If the weather's crappy enough, it'll scare them. I'm not seeing anything. This is the TBT, target bearing transmitter. Increase to 15.
Yes, sir. 4.
So, based on the contact, we can estimate a speed now. It's been 50 minutes, 50 minutes, and he's traveled. They've traveled approximately 11 and a half nautical miles. So. They're doing 13 to 14 knots. That gives me a rough speed of about 13 to 14 knots. Now I have two options here. I can either save my torpedoes for use in my patrol area per my orders, which is what I should do, which is what they would have done, because you're passing through other submarines' patrol zones. To give you an idea, the Subs Pack and Subs SOS Pack had divided the Pacific into patrol zones, and this is what they look like. So where I'm going is here. Where I'm currently at is about here. Now, I definitely would be in straddling or in 1 to 2 other subs patrol zones. I could send a contact report as soon as I get a visual on these old boys, or say, here's what we got, and they dispatch other elements. I mean, because that's what I'm supposed to do. So I'm probably going to do that. I would love to put torpedoes into these ships, but that, you know, if we're going to play this accurately, we should be sending out contact reports. So let's see what we can see. Still nothing. What time is it? Real time. Okay. Check radar. So we've got contacts well within the 8,000 yard range at about 325. I don't have any visual on them at the moment. Not that I can see. And see, now this is where a good was, or attack course finder would come in handy, because I could predict, I could determine based on their current track and relative position to my boat what their angle on the bow would be. Of course, angle on the bow being their relative position, or the relative view. Let me give you an idea real quick. Angle on the bow is the relative, is how it looks at a certain angle. This is 45 degree angle on the bow. So this is like 45 degrees. Since it's traveling left to right, this would be the starboard side, or the right hand side, as most landlubbers know it. Myself a landlubber, but I like this stuff anyways. 45 degrees angle on the bow. This is as its bow would be seeing us from 45 degrees off its relative, we're relative bearing 45 degrees off that ship's bow. That's a 100, that is a 0 angle on the bow, dead on. And if you're looking at the very back end of the bow, of a target ship, that's 180 angle on the bow. So 0 and 180 are not marked starboard or port, they're just flat angles. All other angles are marked starboard or port. That helps you determine course. So let's see what we're looking at. But I really need a good view. I need to be able to...
Ship spotted.
Oh. They're saying ship spotted. Here. It can be really hard to spot something in these rotten weather seas. Bingo, 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 bingo. We got something. That's a destroyer. Tell by the shape of it. Fucking Akazuki. Mother Nature quit messing with me, I'll be able to get a better view of it. Speed 13 based on tracking. 12, the lock on those. Yes. Trying to get this contact report out.
Ship spotted.
Oh, come on. Let's do it to the periscope. It's all from ComSub. Got a serious bone in his teeth too. You see the weight coming up off of that
Ship spotted.
bow. Contact report sent.
Yes, sir.
Periscope depth 1/3.
Periscope depth.
3% running.
Head
I want to avoid being heard. I'm going to break left and go southwest on these little boys.
Yes, sir. New course. 2.
Yeah, it's definitely an Akazuki. The rounded turrets. Woo! Here's a litter box within about 6 feet of where I'm at, and somebody decided to use it. Holy cow. Turn due south.
Current depth.
New message received.
Ultra. Enemy transport carries valuable reinforcements for frontline troops. Higher department. Engage at once. Oh, that's a first. That's a first. That's a first. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been told to engage this target.
Yes, sir.
Gloves are off.
Yes, sir. 6. Yes, sir. Ahead slow. Brake for silent running.
The reason these things are running fast is apparently they are troop transports. ComSub wants us to go after them. Dang it. Makes a lot of noise.
Ahead
Flank. Weather conditions are crap. Bingo! What do we got? I don't know that it's a huge European liner, but it could be a large passenger liner. Could be a huge European liner. Funnels aren't shaped properly though. Large old passenger. That's going to be target number 1. No, that's target number 1. Huge European liner, 20,000, 18, 19,000 tonner. Large old passenger. Oh wow, we've caught them. Okay, so I need to get a range. Alright, calm down and start thinking. Targets. Well, set for 10 feet. These things are going to run a deeper draft than 20, so we're going to fire 3 at each on those forward 2. And if I can get an eye on the 3rd, we'll wheel the stern tubes around and bring them around to bear. Realistically, you would want to be able to run the scope up, view within 10 seconds, knock the scope down. Oh, these things are just about at 90. They're going to be crossing track pretty soon. Open outer doors on 1 through 6. We're going to go for shooting observation here. A little long range, but we might be able. This weather they might have trouble spotting it. Firing 1. Firing 2. Firing 3. Now we're going to look at the next one. Quickly.
Torpedo in the 1. Torpedo in the 1.
Should have changed that AOP on that first one. That's alright. Down scope, wheel it around. These are semi-snapshots. Right now, runtime is a little over 1 minute and 40 seconds. That's on the first one.
Yes, sir. New course. 8. Yes, sir. 8.
Twenty seconds of runtime coming up left on number 1. 15, 10, 5 seconds. Past time for 1.
Torpedo is a dud, sir.
That'll
Torpedo
be.
impact.
We have an impact.
Torpedo is a dud, sir.
2 duds and an impact. That's probably on the second target. Run scope up. Let's take a look. First 3 missed. Second 2 were on target. And whoa, we got a kill. No, first 2 ran long. All right, lock on. We need to lock onto this old boy quick.
Yes, sir. Runner. Yes, sir.
Come on, come on. Come on, open outer doors 4, 7 through 10. All right. He's been hurt. He's crippled. We're going to drop him down to 10 knots. Oh, come on. Oh, he's down by the bow. Come on. Come on. I want to... That not... Can't really see. We know we've got something going on. He's down by the bow. There's a tin can over there. To the left. Tin can charging hard from the right. Okay, so large old passenger carrier is still alive. Fires aft. This is going to be kind of a crappy target shoot given the angle on the bow. Give him 11 knots. Says he's going to be slowed. Range 35. I'm going to target him 1 degree right. And fire. Alright, we've expended all torpedoes. We're going deep.
Torpedo in the one.
Take her down 200.
Yes, sir.
We're going to slow to 3. And we're going to break due south.
Current speed. 0. New course. 17.
Those 4 are hip shots. I don't really know if they're going to make impact, but they're worth taking the shot.
Current depth. 8.
Had to make a quick guess on the AOB and the speed.
Current depth. 1. 0.
Because that large old passenger carrier could easily pull 17 knots, but if he's been hit, then he could be slower.
Current depth. 1. 4. 0.
Didn't even have the battle stations on. Probably should have.
6. 0.
Oh well.
Current depth.
Executive decisions of a skipper.
0.
Contact. Merchant. Moving away. Bearing. 147. Long range.
So that's the torpedo wind. That's the screws of the target. zigzagging. Not a shock. We're coming up on time. It was a long shot, 3,500 yards. And he was going away from me, so he's going to be just barely inside the torpedo run range.
Current depth. 2, 0.
It's a miss.
0.
Alright, we've got
Torpedo
misses.
missed, sir.
Yeah, they're not going to
Torpedo
miss by
missed,
much.
Torpedo missed, sir. Torpedo missed, sir.
Missed just ahead of her. She probably turned.
Contact. Warship. Moving away.
That's fine.
Bearing.
Alright, now we've got the trouble of evasion.
Yes, sir. New depth. 2. Yes, sir. 9.
So we got...
Yes, sir. Current speed. 2.
That was a new task that was given to us. It's been complete. And we knocked out a 19,000-ton liner. That's a good start to a patrol. That's 10 fish. The average number of torpedoes expended by U.S. submarines per enemy vessel sunk was 10. We got 1 hit, 2 duds, and 7 misses. So the first, I know exactly what went wrong on the first one. I didn't correct the AOB. I should have the angle on the bow. I should have. That would have probably corrected the torpedo run angle and its gyros a little better. The second one was a snap, but if I had to guess, and this is like looking overhead, this is the enemy transport. This is my torpedoes. My torpedoes are running this way. I'm thinking, from what I could hear on the radar, he's turning. He's zigzagging, so they're going to pass ahead of him. Oh! We got the second one. Apparently that fire in the aft end in the engine room didn't do him any good.
Warship. Moving away. Bearing.
2 down.
8. Long range.
2 for 10. I'll take it. Alright, we have 1 hit, 2 duds, and then, was it 1 or 2 contact hits?
Current depth. 2. 8. 0.
That only goes back up so far. Dug on it. Looks like we got the second one. Ooh. We bagged almost 30,000 tons. That's 29,000, 28,000 tons right there. That's pretty solid. That's solid. Evade these tin cans. Don't need to celebrate just yet, but by golly, I'm jumping up and down inside. That was good targeting. I got good targeting on a couple of those, which is nice. How's our battery consumption looking? Plenty good. Time, it's almost 3, almost 1,500. All right, let's resume course. Wow. All right. Good start to this patrol. Not an aircraft carrier like Cavalla, but 28,000, 29,000 tons of transports, troop transports. I'll take that any day of the week. That's fantastic. I don't hear anything. Alright, we didn't get to see them sink, which is really kind of a bummer. That's one of the reasons I like to do the external view. We can watch them go down. There's something kind of satisfying about it. I don't hear the destroyers anywhere on sonar. Bring her up to PD, to periscope depth.
Yes, sir.
Just after 6 o'clock, 6:15 game time. Alright, let's run scope up, take a look. All fish are reloaded. All tubes are reloaded with fresh fish. I'm not seeing anything. Surface boat.
Surface the boat.
Yes, sir.
Do a radar search. Nothing within 40 miles, nothing within 10 miles. We're in business. Resume course and speed.
Yes, sir. Current speed.
Yes, sir.
10. Yes, sir. Current speed 10.
Oh, well, that was very successful. And it's just after 4 o'clock Central. Let's do this. Save the game. I can save the replay. This is Scorpion. We're going to call it Scorpion 1 for Scorpion Patrol 1. Save. I'll save the replay. Now let's go to the main menu. So far, 28,000 tons. Load a replay. We're going to load the replay of this, and I'm going to push it ahead, and we're going to see what happens. Let's do a little recap, shall we? That's the fun part about this. I can go back and look at it. We're going to watch these little, watch these big old boys sink. Now it's having to fast forward. Alright, that's the day before. That's that crappy weather we were dealing with. Okay, so keep an eye on her, see when I submerge. I think 32 is the max speed I can run on this. Alright, aha. There's the sound of a torpedo being fired. That's a destroyer. It's one of the escorts. That Akazuki that was in the lead.
Passing thermal layer.
Okay, so, alright, let's try this again. Oh, there's a smoke plume. That's helpful. And there's nothing there. I fast forwarded too fast. Okay, let me back out and try this again. Back to main menu. Load game. Load replay. The replay system on this is not the most... You can't fine-tune this as much as I would like. You can't back it up. You can only go forward. And when you've got these very narrow bars down here showing the green is when you're firing torpedoes and the red is for the sinkings, then you really have to take a solid guess on where everything is located. The night before. Alright, we're gonna let this go 14 days, 7 hours. This is about where we were last time, 14.7.
Passing thermal layer.
That's 14.7. Passing a thermal layer. I did not hear that report, interestingly enough. Let's see, here's the tin cans. Hunting, I would assume. So, again, we're going to have to reload this. This is just, ugh. Teaches me to turn off external view. I really want to watch the sinking. Like I said, there's a certain satisfaction that comes with it.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no. Did not want to load the game. That's the game. We don't want to load the game. We want to load the replay. I hit load. Hit the wrong load. Oh, it went too far. Oh, good gracious. This is proven to be a hassle. Try one more time. If I don't get it, it teaches me for not having external view available. But I'm sure if you're watching, if there's anybody watching, Lord knows I don't know, y'all want to see a ship sink too, as do I. I like to see the result of my handiwork. 14:06:49. Alright, let's just run this because it happens in the daytime, so. There's daytime. Oh. Turn and submerge. So that's the point where the contact report was made. And we are Now underwater. Now submerged. Yeah, you can see the targets at a distance. Here we go. We've got something now. Speed it up a little bit. Periscope up. There's the scope. Getting close to the firing point. There's a turn towards target. Alright, so we've gotten orders from ComSub Pack to go ahead and engage. Scope up. This will be probably the firing solution. Be the firing observation. Trying to get those. I guess I was trying to get those. We'll know when the torpedoes are fired. They're going to put out a nice white wake. Yes, I had that periscope up way too long. I'm surprised it didn't get spotted, but the seas must have been crap. Especially with the way the seas were dropping down. Take a look underneath. Yeah, the outer doors aren't even open yet. Well, no. Oh, up, we have torpedoes. We have torpedoes. Alright, here we go. So we know the large troop transport was the first target. And see what I'm talking about, the wakes. These torpedoes used a combination of fuel alcohol, or alcohol for fuel and oxygen, and they drove a steam turbine engine which necessitated exhaust. The exhaust came out in the form of these little bubble these wakes that were bubbles. And see, they did develop an electric torpedo, the Mark 18, later in the war. Wakeless, but it had a shorter range and a slower speed. Mark 14 and its improved version of the Mark 23 tended to remain a lot more used. Okay, so they've got a nice streaking torpedo heading right for the target here. So we know the first one's a dud. The second one is going to be an impact, probably center, judging not fired forward, aft, middle. So the second one probably is going to be right underneath the second stack. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Dud. Impact! Dud. Everything in the aft end. Right in the engine room. That's one. Here's the big boy. Impact. Oh, right under the first funnel. Oh, and whatever he was carrying, it decided to go boom. That looks like an ammunition explosion or maybe possibly a boiler going off. No wonder he died with the first one. Holy smoke. Nice. He's crippled. Let's see what his screws are doing. Still doing decent speed. Take a look, survey the damage. It was all in the aft end. I don't see any holes. There's enough, must have rattled plates enough to do the job on him though. Let's go over here and look at the big boy. Oh, this big old girl, she's about to go, yeah. So she took one, no holes, that's okay, didn't matter. Dead in the water and sinking. So we're gonna enjoy this one. We're gonna enjoy watching this one sink, just because, you know, why not? I'll put it up to speed too. She's gonna drift a little bit, so I'll try to keep her in frame. I'll take myself out of the frame for a moment just so y'all can get a good view of her. She's settling in by the head. Up. Yeah, she's lurching down now. She's gonna go a la Titanic here. Somewhere on the boat, Jack is madly hunting for Rose. No, not really. Ooh, another good dip down. Seas are not helping her. These Beaufort 5 Cs with about 6 to 8, maybe 10 feet waves. They're just pushing that water further and further into her. Down by the head. Air coming up. See cargo coming up from her hold as the water fills. And let's slow it down. Back down to 1. They're not even good so much as a bob. She just gracefully slips under. Here's the other one. Fires aft, listing to starboard. Water now over her stern decks. Yeah, she had turned away. That explains the torpedo misses. Alright, get the webcam back on. Each sinking can be a little different. One of the mods I have for this game that's fantastic is called Natural Sinking Mechanics. Whoever created this mod, God bless you. He created it so that each ship is divided into sectionalized compartments, so that when the water flooded in, the compartments that had air could act buoyantly, and that the water would pull, the weight of the water as it would sink would pull or roll the ship accordingly. I've seen them turtle over. I've seen them bob and twist. We're going to see what the... Oh! There goes the... that's the life raft. They're getting out. So now she's officially sunk. She's doomed. She's definitely going down by the bow. She's got some serious fires from the engine compartments going. Capital ships, no, not capital ships, ships like this that were troop transports were probably equal in value to oilers slash tankers as far as sinking value. Large transports, like the first one we looked at, which was based on a real, let's slow it down here, which was based on a real liner, an old European liner, could carry up to 12 or 14,000 troops. So sinking one of these really put a crunch in Japan's war effort. Oh, she's going to go way high. We're going to have... See, this is what I'm talking about with the natural sinking mechanics. These forward compartments have air. They're buoyant. They are very... They're going to hold up for a little while. It's going to bob its way slowly down. Not all ships go down the same way. It just depends. She's lingering. Like a great finger pointing at the sky. And you can see, okay, there goes her superstructure. She's starting to pull under now. The weight of the water is slowly overcoming the air. Air gets pushed out of the spaces. Now we got air trapped in the forecastle, which is up here. It bobs. And with each successive downpull of the bob, it's going to drag more of that empty space underwater to fill. Like I said, whoever designed natural sinking mechanics, God bless you. This is one of the best mods for this game ever. Used to be each ship had a certain number of hit points, and when you took out all the hit points, it exploded or broke in half. So I've actually had ships break in half with natural sinking mechanics. Those are always, you get the torpedoes just right. They'll do the job. The very tip of the bow, the tip of the forecastle still hanging up there. And yes, it was entirely possible for a ship like this to go down in a matter of minutes if it was hold big and it was hold hard enough. And there it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, there is our first 2 kills on the patrol. Fantastic. All right. Well, that was a profitable first attack. So to review, we left Pearl Harbor in command of the Scorpion, named for the scorpion fish. Traveled about 14 days total from Pearl, including 1 stop at Midway for refuel, or actually a pass through at Midway. Really, you'd stop for a day or 2, refuel, and then take off again. And then traveled about 11 more days, and contacted this convoy. It looked like 3 blips on the radar in the middle with 2 destroyers at the end, but 2 destroyers, 1 at each end. But I'm thinking one of those blips was just very large because it was that huge European liner, which was almost 19,000 tons. Just taking up so much space inside the PPI, that the point position indicating radar, that it just looked huge. Looked like it was 2. Not an uncommon mistake, not an impossible mistake to make. Got close enough to determine target course, target speed, send off a message quick to ComSub Pack, say hi, contact report. What do you want me to do? And their immediate response was engage. Filled with enemy reinforcements, you are to engage. So I had a whole new objective added to the list of objectives. We set up, we fired torpedoes. We had a nearly perfect 0 angle on the first shots and about 20-degree left gyro on the second shots. And we scored 1 hit. We actually had 3 impacts, or 3 hits on the first vessel out of the 6 forward tubes. But the first 3, out of the first 3, we had 1 dud. one hit, 2 duds, and on the second we had 1 hit, 2 duds, or 1 hit, 1 miss, 1 miss, or 1 dud, something like that. Either way, we got hits on both of them. The heavy one, as you saw in the video, the big girl, she just went lit. Whatever was in the hold where she got hit was could have been boilers, it could have been cargo. She lit up like a Christmas tree, and was done. She was toast. The second one actually took, which took the first hit, the first torpedo impact, took it aft of the second stack, underneath the superstructure, underneath the superstructure decks, lit on fire, probably boilers or fuel. Could have been oil. Who knows? It's just a guess. We're surmising here. It's play around for all we know. But she eventually took on enough water that she went under. And Scorpion, with 10 torpedoes, has logged 2 kills for a total of 28,000 tons before she's even reached patrol zone. So, the next time we do this, we're going to pick back up, continue to the patrol zone, and we will start the laborious process of patrolling the Bungo Suido, which is where we're slated to go. And that's where we're going to be. I might do another broadcast at some point with a different game. If I do, I'll let you know. It'll probably be something like Napoleon Total War. But I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have, because I'm just pleased as punch that we that I got 2 good kills. At least one, definitely got 2. I was just happy to get 1 initially, and then the second one decided to go under. I was like, oh, wow. So great start to this patrol. Great show for everybody here who got to see that. We've had some good discussion, or at least I've had good talk about. I've been talking to and listening to myself about all of this. And so, anyways, I do hope y'all had a good. I hope y'all enjoyed watching this.